So this weekend, I went to 2 tournaments. I went to a Warhammer 40k tournament, and I went to a Warhammer the Old World tournament. And it was really eye-opening. So starting with the Warhammer 40k tournament, firstly, I haven't played 40k in like 3 months. The longest period I've been in years without playing Warhammer 40k. And I think it was good for me to take that time away. I know it was good for me to take that time away because I came back to Warhammer 40k when I wanted to play it. Not when I felt like I had to play it, when I should play it, but when I wanted to play it. And I think that's important because you shouldn't, it's meant to be fun. If it's not fun, what's the point? Now, what's interesting is this event was a very casual event. I will be doing an after action report on it. Well, it was meant to be a very casual event, but we're in late stage 10th edition. So even the most casual events still are quite cutthroat. So it was billed as a sort of 1500 point social. Like there was no round timings really or anything like that. It was turn up, play 3 games. They can do the pairings, but if people just wanted to grudge each other like 3 games in a row, grudge is where you go, I'm going to fight you, then they could accommodate that as well. And so it was meant to be like a casual event, but I ended up playing against Death Guard twice. And I played against Tyranids once, and I played against Invasion Fleet Tyranids. So it was casual because it was like 1500 points, but it was still like people brought good stuff. Like the Death Guard army had good stuff in it, and both Death Guard armies had really good stuff. One of the Death Guard armies with Death Shroud spam. Like a casual event. So please understand it was, it was semi-casual at best. But I took a very interesting army, if I may say so myself. And it's something that I've been meaning to do for a while now. So I took pure Firstborn Space Marines. So I recently bought an entire Firstborn army off eBay of Blood Ravens. Okay. And it was partially because Dawn of War Definitive Edition came out. It was partially because it was a really good deal. And it was mostly because I wanted to use it in 4th edition. I want to be doing some 4th edition games with it. So I turned up with this 1500 point Firstborn only army list. And let me take you through my army list to give you an idea, because there was no meta chasing in this list. Leading my force. Oh, so I was Blood Angels because Blood Ravens are red Blood Angels. But I didn't take any Blood Angels units. So then I took the Iron Hands detachment. And the reason I took the Iron Hands detachment is because it was a really easy rule to remember. Reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, 1 damage per unit. I didn't need to remember I didn't use any of the stratagems. I just used like grenades and smoke. I used Armor of Contempt and grenades basically every turn. That was it. And so my list was led by a Space Marine captain in Terminator armor. I gave him the enhancement. That's like 10 points. That gives him a fort, feel no pain. And that was the only character in my army. which is very unusual for Space Marine forces, who tend to be like, every squad must be led by a character, apart from like the 5-man intercessors holding the back objective. But no, I had a Terminator captain leading a squad of 5 assault Terminators inside a Land Raider Crusader, because I only had the Land Raider Crusader. I would have preferred it being a regular Land Raider, but I didn't have that one. I had a Land Raider Crusader. This will be getting an AAR, Pete Jobson. Yeah, it will be getting an after action report. So, a unit of Terminators led by a captain inside a Land Raider, because I was like, what's the most classic firstborn army I can bring? Well, that's a pretty classic unit, right? Then I took 5 regular Terminators with an assault cannon, and they went in deep strike each game. I then took 5 Vanguard Veterans. I wanted to take Assault Marines, but they're Legends now, so I just took Vanguard Veterans for the same points and just used them as Assault Marines. So we've got 5 Assault Terminators, 5 regular Terminators, 5 Vanguard Veterans, and a Land Raider. The rest of my army was 3 squads of Tactical Marines, a Devastator squad, and 2 Razorbacks. I don't think I've ever run anything less meta in years. Certainly the last 12 months. But maybe since the beginning of 10th edition, I've never run anything so unfathomably unmeta. And this really went down to the minute level. So I played completely WYSIWYG. So my sergeants, because I'd bought this army, it's like a 4th edition Blood Ravens army. Everyone's on 25mm bases, which was fine for this event because it was casual. And I had that was all checked beforehand, of course. The sergeants were equipped with bolt pistol and chainsword, so I ran them with bolt pistol and chainsword, even though they can take plasma pistol and power fist for free. I was like, well, no, that's what they're equipped with. Now, Tactical Marines, the best loadout for Tactical Marines is like plasma gun and like las cannon, right? Because they're like the 2 most expensive weapon. Yeah, I had a plasma gun in there, but then I had a heavy bolter in each tactical squad. Because the heavy bolter models are really cool. They've got like the belt-fed heavy bolters. And I remember those from like Dawn of War 1. So I was like, yeah, I'll run that. The Devastators, I had 1 las cannon, 1 multi-melter, and 2 plasma cannons. Because those were the models that the guy had for his Devastator squad. So, when I say this thing was off meta, I mean, like, it was unfathomably off meta. It was, if you showed that list to someone, even if I added 500 more points into it, if you showed that list to someone, they would go, what the fuck is this? Why has he taken these units? What's the great tactical and strategic thinking behind these units? And the great tactical and strategic thinking behind these units were, I thought they looked cool. That was it. I split my tactical school. Oh, 1 Razorback had a las cannon. 1 Razorback had heavy bolters. Didn't even run didn't even. So I ran this army, and I had my little game plan. So every tactical squad was combat squad down to 2 5-man squads. I put the sergeant and a plasma gun in one half, and the heavy bolter in the other half, right? And by the way, not every squad was the same. So like one of the tactical squads was like a melter gun, for example. So it's like a sergeant and a melter gun in one half, heavy bolter in the other half. And then one of the squads, I was like, fuck it, I'll just put all the special weapons in one half, and the other half was like 5 bolter marines. So it really, again, I'll repeat myself a little bit, but I'll reiterate. Everything about this list was just, I'm going to take what I think's cool, and I'm going to take an army that just doesn't have loads of characters in it, It's very unusual for what Space Marines take, but to me, it felt like a proper Space Marine army. And what's kind of interesting is I had loads of, and don't worry, we're getting to the point. We're getting to how it did and how it felt to use it. But I'm talking about like the context and the motivations behind it, the thoughts behind it, and the reactions I had and all this kind of stuff. So, firstly, I actually had everyone who played against it and who saw it went, now that's a Space Marine army. That's cool. So are those tactical Marines? Like, I've not seen people run tactical Marines in years. And I was like, yeah, man. And, you know, they saw the, some of the old, like the old Terminators and the old tactical Marines and the old Assault Marines. And they were like, wow, these, you know, I had like new players like, whoa, look at those backpacks. Those are like cool. You know, those, it wasn't, to be clear, this isn't a subtext to Primaris, look shit to Assault Marines or anything like that. Nothing like that whatsoever. It was just people were like, wow, this, you know, it was, people were looking at it and going, that looks like a Warhammer army. That looks like an army. That looks like a Space Marine army. And that was my whole motivation for it. It's just like, I'm just going to build an army that feels right. I'm not going to build an army that's chasing metas. Like, you've got to take this unit and combine it with this one, and then this unit, combine it with this character, and all this kind of stuff. It was just, I'm going to build an army that feels right. And it's going to be basically, it's kind of like, in a funny sort of way, I didn't really realize until afterwards, but it was kind of like Guardified Space Marines in many ways, because I was like, it was just built on those fundamentals, right? Have I got some melee units? Yeah. Just, Terminators, Assault Terminators, regular Terminators, and Vanguard Veterans. Have I got some shooting units? Yeah, you know, I've got my Devastators, my Tactical Marines. I've got special weapons in there. Have I got some Objective Doers? Yeah, I do. So it was just really like the idea is I just took cool units, but I just made sure that like in a very general way, I wasn't even focusing on like wombo combos. I wasn't even focusing on, you know, this unit is this efficient or anything like that. It was literally a case of, do I have my fundamentals covered? Yeah. That's as far as it went. No, there were no combos because I only had one character. The most combo in my army was a unit of Terminators in a Land Raider, a couple of tactical, 5-man tactical squads in Razorbacks. That's the only, everything else just sort of did its thing, right? Now, two very interesting things happened here. Okay. Now, the first one is less important because it was a semi-casual event, right? The first thing is that I went undefeated. And I was very, very surprised at how well the units ran. And let me tell you, as a guard player, as a guard player, I loved running Marines. I did. You know what's funny? I when I was sort of thinking about the list, I was in the back of my mind, I was thinking about bear in mind, my brother hasn't played 40k for 2 years. And I was like, how does my brother build his Space Marine armies? How does my brother play his Space Marine armies? I was like, well, what would Johnny do? No, not what would Jesus do? What would Johnny do? So I very much played it how like I've seen my brother play Marines for years, and it just worked. Little 5-man tactical squad goes and does an objective. And honestly, Oath of Moment is just such a good army rule. I actually have no idea how people have been complaining about it. Because like most of the time in 40k, people are only really exposed like 1 or 2 units at a time because they do this whole like training thing, and they do this whole like, oh, you know, I'm gonna, you know, they have like a go turn, but like I said, the winning doesn't really matter because it was quite a casual event. But, you know, when I say it was casual, you know, I did face off against Death Guard twice, both of which had a lot of Terminators in there. You know, they had like infiltrating Poxwalkers and stuff like that, right? And who the players, you know, were decent players. So it was really interesting. Like the army, I thought the army would be terrible. And it turned out that by going completely off meta didn't hold me back at all. And the other thing is that the army really was very enjoyable to play. It was really, really very enjoyable to play because it just felt right. It felt like I was running an army. And there was this one turn, it was in game 2 when I was facing the Tyranids. And there was this one turn when I launched an honest-to-God Terminator assault. Like in the fluff. Like in an old White Dwarf battle report. Let's see if I can find the picture for it, actually. Let me see if I can find the picture for it. But it was an honest-to-God, like, Terminator assault. Right? And I'll put it in the Discord now, like, showing the pictures, if I can. And honestly, it was like... It reminded me of how my games used to feel back in... I mean, just look at this picture, man. Look at that. It just feels so right. I think I've got a second angle of it. Yeah, the Von Ryan Leapers jumping on the old Tactical Marines, man. Look at the old Tactical Marines, boys. Man, I don't care what anyone... People say, oh, they've got such shitty, dumpy, like, proportions. Nah, man. Nah, they're good. They're good. But yeah, oh yes, this was it. So I launched this, like, Terminator. I had myself nicely staged up on, like, turn 2, turn 3 kind of thing. My Terminators, by the way, the Von Ryan Leapers had come in. My Terminator had gone here and, like, you know, dealt with the Von Ryans. And then the next turn, I launched a Terminator assault. So my Land Raider came forward. The guys jumped out. Because it's got the assault ramp, they can charge after it's moved. And it was like 10 Terminators led by a captain. 5 assault Terminators. 5 tactical Terminators. 1 Terminator captain. And just charging all of that in, like, one go from, like, a genuine, like, Terminator assault. It just felt so right. It felt so good. It was just really cool. It was really cool that I could, like, pull that kind of, like, tactic off, right? And honestly, it was probably my favorite moment of the entire weekend. I'm going to have this as, like, a bit of a background picture. It was probably my favorite moment of, like, the entire weekend, just being able to, like, pull off this, like, Terminator assault. It was really, really cool. But what is the point of all of this? Just me waxing lyrical about a game that a few games that I had over the weekend? Well, I want to circle back round to the whole, like, the Firstborn Space Marine thing, you know, at a later time, probably like another video, another stream or something. But right now, what I really want to focus on is this idea of this point of that this was a very off-meta list. It was a very, very off-meta list. And it is the happiest that I have been with Warhammer 40k in years. Probably all in the last 12 months, 12 to 18 months. And it made me, for the first time, I think for the first time in my entire life, I finally got something that I've been hearing about for years, like maybe for like decades. I finally understand why meta chasing is so bad. For the over the course of 2025, I have felt a pressure coming from the game of Warhammer 40k, not from this community, not from my mates, but coming from the game of Warhammer 40k itself, due to the nature of it being so, like, competitively minded. I I have felt this pressure, this overwhelming need to always be running what I think is the best stuff. And it's on such a fundamental level. Like, I can only ever run my units with certain loadouts. I can only ever run my, you know, certain units themselves. Like, no, I won't take like armored sentinels because they're rubbish. I'll always take like scout sentinels and stuff like that. And I've realized that I think one of the reasons why I've been going off 40k so much is, and what this army taught me a very valuable lesson, is that, or maybe it reminded me of something, but I don't know. But for the last 12 months, we'll say I've been meta chasing. Maybe not meta chasing with specific factions, but meta chasing within the Guard. I've not necessarily been taking what I want to take. I've been taking what I feel I should be taking. And it's frankly been fucking miserable. Playing, like, I think in 2025, it's probably the most successful I've been as a tournament player. Basically gone undefeated, apart from in a few different places. And that's not a brag. It's just, I've been playing a lot of games. I've been getting pretty well practiced, all that kind of stuff. But I've basically been like playing the Guard, trying to be more of a Guard meta player. And this is actually kind of reflected. If you look at the tournament reports that I've been doing, like, I've been running basically the same army in most tournaments that I go to. Like, it's mech Guard one way or another. Do you know what I mean? When I run hybrid Guard, it's always the same way. When I run mech Guard, it's always the same way. And that's because I've been feeling like, well, you know, I have to play this way, because every time I turn up to a tournament, everyone is just running like the most horrendous, like, meta shit. And so I've been essentially I'll say faction specialist, but I've been a faction specialist meta chaser for the last for a little while now, and it's been probably the most miserable I've been whilst playing Warhammer 40k. And like I said, some of this blame definitely needs to be laid at my feet, because I've chosen to play that way. But I think some of this also needs to be laid at the feet of Warhammer 40k, with this hyper focus on, like, you know, competitive play. And if you, this almost this feeling that if you're not playing competitively, you're playing the game wrong. Like, people almost look down on you for playing non-competitively. There's definitely, you know, especially, you know, tournament players look down on, like, crusade players and stuff like that. And there is an element of that. There's an element of it. There's an element of arrogance. Like, oh, what do you play? Oh, yeah, well, me and my mates, we just all play like 1,000 points, just have a bit of fun. And people are like, oh, right, yeah. Like, oh, because you're not playing 2,000 points, meta chasing match play, that you're playing the game, like, wrong, almost. Definitely feels like there's an element of that. And what I realized is it's almost like a mind virus that has infected Warhammer 40k. And it's for personally, I never want to meta chase again. This playing with these firstborn Marines, and I could have lost every single game. I expected to lose every single game, but playing with these firstborn Marines made me realize that never again do I want to run an army because I feel like I should be running that army. I'm going to run an army because I want to play it that way. That's the first thing. I don't care who tells me that Tactical Marines are shit. I love them. I enjoy playing with them. I thought they were great, so I'm going to run those. I don't give a fuck who tells me that, like, Lemur's Vanquishers are, like, trash. You know, we know. The Cult of the Vank knows. That's why I think I love the Vanquisher so much. Because everyone was telling, you know, all the meta chasers were saying the Vank was trash. And actually, it was like, no, fuck you guys. I'm running Vanks because it's Vanking time. I think that's why myself and many others kind of fell in love with the Vanquisher because everyone was telling us it should be terrible, but we were using it and we were enjoying it, and it was, you know, getting some decent like results. So, well, it was doing well enough. It was actually doing well enough that even if it was off meta, it didn't matter. So yeah, it's kind of like rediscovering the rule of cool. But it's a little bit more than that. It's like it's rediscovering that meta chasing is bad. So let me explain a little bit further, because we've talked about, you know, how, you know, why I've not been enjoying 40k. I've talked about how we've sort of playing something that was off meta was very fun. But, you know, let me actually talk to you now about how the army list felt to play from an effectiveness point of view. So it felt right from a vibes point of view. But let's now talk about it from like an effectiveness point of view. Now, again, this was a casual event, but I faced many legitimate units, like, you know, firstborn, pure firstborn taking on like Death Shroud, like example, right? And it made me, so how effective was this force? Well, it was very effective. I didn't score less than 80 points in any games. And let me tell you, if I had an extra 500 points, this army would only get stronger. It's not like, oh, well, everyone else was playing on like half power. It's like, if I had an extra 500 points, I could add I'd add more firstborn in. I'd be like, you know what? I'll take another 5 Terminators. I'll take another unit of Assault Marines, and I'll probably take another tactical squad. And the reason why I think this list was so effective, well, I didn't face knights, of course. So there are things that this list would probably, but you know what? Even if I faced knights, I reckon I could do all right. I've seen this kind of list do surprisingly well into armies like knights before. So the reason why I think this list was effective was because it wasn't chasing the meta, but fundamentally it was focused on those fundamentally it was focused on the fundamentals of Warhammer. Right? Have you, you know, we in the Guard, we call it the 4 pillars. Have you got your primary game? Have you got your secondary game? Have you got your indirect fire? Have you got, fucking hell, I can't remember the 4 pillars anymore, but, oh, your damage dealers, primary game, secondary game, damage dealers. And then with Guard, you've got indirect fire. Now, I think, you know, in Warhammer 40k, for most armies, it's 3 pillars. But, you know, have you got your, well, you know, well, you still, you know, have you got the way of attacking units out of line of sight, with melee obviously being a way of doing that, right? And so I think the reason this army was effective, and the reason why I'm not considering it, I might take this army to the next tournament, and it's going to be 2,000 points pure firstborn to a competitive event. I've got the base extenders already. Just going to put them on the slightly bigger bases. The reason why I think this army was effective is because it didn't chase the meta, but when I was building it, I built it like a classic Warhammer army. So I had those foundations covered. I had those fundamentals covered. And when I look at the armies that I played this weekend, you know, the Tyranid army was, you know, a fun army, but it was a series of individual units that were comboed up. So let me give you an example. There were 2 units of Gene Stealers with Broodlords in there. There was a unit of Warriors with a Prime, and there was a unit of Zonothropes with a like a Neurotyrant, like leading them. Now, individually, all of those combos make sense. And there's a single Barivore at the back doing its thing, right? Individually, those those combos make sense. But when you look down at the Tyranid army, it's just like a collection of units. It's a collection of gimmicks. And this is where I think 40k players have gone so wrong. This is where I think 40k players have gone so wrong. The people have forgotten about fundamental play versus meta chasing. Because the whole idea of people, maybe the whole idea behind meta chasing that I understood it is that people are like chasing the most powerful stuff. But people are doing that within their own factions now. So they're taking like these individual like combos, like, oh, if I take like this unit and add this leader to it, and then I add this strat to it, it makes a really powerful combo. Yeah, as Warforge says, they're focused on gimmicks to combo with strats. Yeah, that's it. So everyone is building these lists, which are basically rather than building an army based on fundamentals, they're building an army based on combos and gimmicks. And so on paper, these armies look really good, but when they get into the games, they're just not. They're just not. They should be. They're just not as good as they should be. And so I think this is why I've come to this realization that meta chasing is really, really bad, but not necessarily for the reasons that people think. People often see meta chasers or meta chasing as bad because, like, oh, you're not running what's good, you're just running what's really powerful. And it's like, no, that's not why meta chasing is bad. Meta chasing is bad is because it makes you a bad player. It makes you a bad player. A good player doesn't think about armies in terms of wombo combos. Or should I say, doesn't think about armies in terms of exclusively in terms of wombo combos. Good players are aware of combinations and they make use of combinations, but they don't build they don't build every aspect of their list around gimmicks and combos. It's interesting. It's taken me a long time to get to this place because I'm definitely someone who in the past was definitely someone who did build armies around gimmicks. So an example of this would be when I used to, when I run like pure infantry and stuff like that. In a way, you can kind of see that as like a kind of a gimmick because obviously you're building like a skew lists. So when I was when I would play my games of Warhammer 40k when I was a much less experienced player, I would always try and build armies based around this like skew. Oh, if I turn up with like 10 Lehman Russes, no one will be able to beat that because it's so many tanks. Or if I turn up with like 200 infantry, no one will be able to beat that because it's so many bodies. And then actually what happens is you catch a couple of people off guard, but you never actually win an event like that. And the reason you never win an event like that is because, well, when you come across someone who can handle the amount of armor you've got, when you come across someone who can handle the amount of infantry you've got, then because you're only running a gimmick, it falls apart. And so then you get to this, and then, so what's funny is this idea of like running gimmicks has actually almost, it's almost hidden. But basically everyone is building, and I'm using everyone as like a broad term, but like the way that players approach list building now is not based on fundamentals. It's based on wombo combos. And in a funny sort of way, they're building all these like little skews, these little gimmicks, but they're not actually building an army. Yeah. De Krampus, combos are good, but they should serve your overall game plan and have a clear role in what your army is designed to do. 100%. Pete Jobson, I've had someone come up to me in a casual game saying, saw this mad combo on Vanguard Tactics that's going to proper mess you up. Great. Cheers, bro. Yeah. See, I know exactly what you mean. Someone will say, oh yeah, this is like an amazing combo. And then the whole list is built around this combo. And then you're just like, okay, well, what if I just don't interact with your combo? Yeah, what if I just don't play your game? Like, I mean, we're playing the game. What I mean is I don't play your game. I'm just going to, you've got one gimmick. So I know what your gimmick is now. So if I take that gimmick away from you, or I stop that gimmick from doing what it wants to do, what's the backup? And they're like, well, I don't know. And you see it all the time. Skew lists. I think a big part of it is when armies don't look like armies. Armies don't look like armies. And I think it's because everyone is building these wombo combos. They're building these gimmicks. They're chasing the meta. And even if they're not chasing the most powerful faction, they're chasing the meta inside their faction without realizing that it's so much more powerful if you build a list that focuses on those fundamentals. Drex Martel, that brings up another issue entirely where faction is based off a skew like World Eaters. Well, you're right. There are factions which are based off a skew. And then these factions are fundamentally flawed. And I think it's a mistake that I've made. Sometimes I've looked at a new release faction and I've gone, oh my God, that's going to be so powerful. And then it doesn't do as well. And the reason it doesn't do as well is because whilst individually there's all these combos, it doesn't physically have what it needs to be good. Or the way people are running it, the way people are approaching it. I think a great example of this is Emperor's Children. Emperor's Children only have half a dozen units, and yet you don't see half of them. You don't see half of them. Because everyone's like, oh, well, I should take 3 of those demon princes because they're really good. And it's like, well, have you tried taking a more balanced list? I think that's what it comes down to. You never see a balanced list anymore. You never, ever see a balanced list. Everyone is just taking either internal skew based on their army or they're externally meta chasing. Drew Bacabra, gimmicks and skews are powerful, but they become a prison if you use them as a crutch. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Gaming Stuka, I tried watching Vanguard Tactics Baseball's review from Start. Oh yeah, these guys are classic class meta. Well, thanks for making me lose interest. Well, I think Vanguard Tactics is interesting because I think Vanguard Tactics do say get your reps in, and then experience is very, very important. And I don't like talking shit about other content creators like ever because it's just not professional. It's just not the way to do things. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think there is an element of there's a risk that we can all fall into, whether we're content creators or players or both, of falling into an idea of this codex came out and this is the combo you need to take to be powerful. And I just don't think it's true. And I want to give you, some people might say, oh, well, this is why you did well because you're running Space Marines. Well, firstly, I thought Space Marines were meant to be shit. Secondly, I thought Firstborn were meant to be shit. Thirdly, I thought Razorbacks were meant to be shit. Fourthly, I did the same thing when I ran my Tau. So going back and looking at my my Tau run when I went to a very cutthroat competitive GT, 5 games in a row, undefeated, came third, podiumed with 0 practice with Tau. I didn't do that because I'm some sort of fucking wizard genius player. I would never, ever say that. And that's not me trying to be humble, but oh, I'd never say that. No, I don't think I am. I don't think I am a particularly like good player. Like, I don't know, especially wouldn't say I'm a particularly good Tau player. But the way I build lists, I think is quite different. I think the way I build lists is very different to the way a lot of other people build lists. If I was to say one thing, I've very much evolved my list building. I used to just bring skew armies, and now I really like building armies that have got these fundamentals covered. And I think the reason that the Tau did so well is because if you go back and look at the army list, it had all the foundations covered. And if you go back and look at what I faced into, everything I faced into was wombo combo. Everything I faced into was just an army list built on a series of gimmicks. Oh, I'm going to take Dante with those Sanguinary Guard. I'm going to take, Death Company with like a character leading them. I'm going to take, then playing into fucking like Thousand Suns, and it's all just these rubric flamer squads. But it's all just focused on, in every single game when I played those, I was basically like, okay, well, you've got a gimmick. This is what your gimmick is? Okay, I'm just not going to engage with it. Because once you know, because what a lot of armies that are built, this is a good way of describing it, because I've used the word gimmick too much. When you say a word too much, you don't want to hear it anymore? Or it starts sounding funny? If you build an army that is based on like a series of combos, each one of those combos represents a problem. But problems have solutions. So if you see what the problem is and you faced it against it before, you know how to beat, how to beat it. You know what that problem solution is. But what you want to do is build an army which isn't based on a series of problems for your opponent, but the army as a whole creates a dilemma for your opponent, because dilemmas don't have any good option. There's no, you go left, go right. It's not helping you, because if you look at, and when you play against a list which is based around just being a fundamentally solid list, there's no combos there, then there's no point of weakness to attack. Think about it, like, it's like, okay, if I kill that unit, then it takes that problem away. Well, what happens if killing that unit doesn't really lower the overall effectiveness of the list? Well, you've got a dilemma then, haven't you? Well, if I kill that 5-man tactical squad, he's got another 5-man tactical squad, because I've not just taken a single 5-man squad to set on a home objective. I've taken 6 5-man squads so I can play my primary and secondary game very effectively. Kill 1, there's 5 left. Kill 2, there's 4 left. In most armies, when you kill, think about it this way. Most of the time when you face off against Space Marines and you kill that 5-man intercessor squad sitting on the enemy home objective, you've put a real fucking spanner in the works of that Space Marine player, haven't you? Because now he's got to try and put something really expensive. He's got to put one of his wombo combos on his home objective, and that's like 300 points that's not contributing to the game now. But what if your opponent doesn't have a really expensive, crazy mega death unit? What if every unit in your opponent in the army is just fundamentally solid? Not great, not terrible, but it's just fundamentally solid. It's just got good foundations. So it's got good fundamentals. When you kill it, the enemy's lost a unit, but they've not had a leg kicked out from under them. So bringing this all together, I think that 40k has a meta-chasing mind virus at the moment. And I think there's a lot, with this focus on meta, skews, combos, gimmicks, stratagems, it's actually made people quite bad at army building. This is going to sound like a bit of an attack on the 40k community. I don't mean it in that way. I don't mean I'm calling out the 40k community, but I think people have got a lot worse at list building over the last couple of years. You just don't see people who are taking armies which have any depth to them, that have any strength to them. You see people taking armies that are a collection of units, and individually those units are very good, but those units basically don't work or support each other. And I've now been to several events, and we're going to get to my old world event in a moment as well, because this kind of feeds into it. I've now been to several events where I have run armies which on paper look completely off meta, But the reality is that they're just not chasing a gimmick. They're just based around some core strengths. I give you, and I think that is what makes a good Warhammer 40k list. One that isn't based on chasing a meta, but one that is based on covering a core need of an army. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a meta-chasing mind virus. And people need to learn the fundamentals again. Quick follow-up example. I went to a Old World tournament and I ran Renegade Crowns. And my army was, it's funny, in Old World, I've been facing a lot of skew lists recently. And what happened is I ended up running an Old World army that was really, really just a good all-rounder. I had like 3 bricks of infantry, two small units of missile of shooty infantry, a unit of knights, couple of guns. It was the least skewed Old World army I have run in, again, probably a year. And I went undefeated and won that event yesterday. Not yesterday, day before yesterday. And I faced against Cathay. Cathay, who are the scourge of the Old World meta right now. And yes, I faced against the balloons and I faced against the cannons and I was able to beat it. And there was a bit of luck on my side, but my opponent's army was built around a series of gimmicky units. And there was actually no fundamentals. His army was I can get you a picture. And by the way, really good opponent. He's a fan of the channel, so don't think I'm throwing shade at him in any way, shape, or form. I'm not. I'm using this as an example of. I'm using it in his list as an example of a list which is a collection of very powerful units. But he was a really nice guy and a really good sport, so I don't want anyone getting the wrong end of the stick. But if you look at my army, right? I've got 3 units of infantry, unit of cavalry. There's a couple of cannons, one off to the side, couple of units of missile infantry. It looks like an army. My opponent's list is 2 balloons, 2 cavalry, and there's 3 guns behind here. It doesn't really look like an army. It's a series of very powerful units, but it doesn't look like an army. And I was actually able to beat this Cathayan army because I wasn't, like I said, there was a lot of luck involved. But there's also an element of when one of my units went down, my list didn't collapse. But what was really funny with the Cathay army is I managed to take out a couple of units of knights and suddenly the whole list kind of fell apart. And then I took one of the balloons down and then everything just fell apart. Yeah. To be fair to this guy, if people saying about his unpainted models, he had flown back from Chile the night before and he hadn't had a chance to paint his models. And it was like a newly acquired army. So, he is a commission painter. Next time we see these will be beautifully painted. I guarantee it. Okay, so just to be fair to the guy, don't worry, just to be fair. But the point is this is why I've had this revelation, because it affects multiple game systems. If you build a skew list or a gimmick list, it doesn't matter what game system it is. There's always going to be a point that it reaches. It goes into an army which is based on fundamentals. And that's when there's a good chance the skew fails. And not even that. If you build a skew list or a gimmick list, I just don't think it makes you a good player. I think you will become a better player by not chasing the meta. But what do we think? What do we think, chat? Don't worry. By the way, I know I've had some super chats coming in, including a big one from Fun Jacob. Don't worry. But what do you guys think? Do you think we have a meta-chasing mind virus problem in Warhammer 40k? And do you think people are forgetting how to... do you think people are forgetting how to build proper lists? Proper lists. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Redfield, 32, Jurgens, Miasma, Try Again, Bragg, RJ, Scorpion, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Nicholas Walsh, John Stubbs, Guardian, Varney, Sword, Fish Trombone, Picklock the Forged. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.